small towns go, this is one of the smallest. But come weekends, tens of thousands make it home because the back roads that bring you here really take you to a lost piece of America.
So many people come and they want to see Amish.
The farmers in the fields, families heading to market, kids returning from school, wheelwrights, windmill builders,
Amongst the English people, we install windmills for them too as well.
horse breeders, harness makers.
This foot power.
Around every corner, it seems, you're back in the 19th century.
They've adapted over the years with carriages and the whole bit. I think that's the fascinating thing.
Here in Sugarcreek, Ohio, folks just devour their history, like the late Jerry Joe Jacobson.
Ever since he was a little kid, he fell in love with steam and wanted to preserve it.
He built the Ohio Central Railroad and collected some of the great relics of the steam days of the rails, and built an old-style roundhouse to share with future generations. Literally a warehouse of memories.
We're essentially a gigantic 18-stall barn out in the middle of Amish cornfields.
Actually, they call the area Little Switzerland, where Amish farmers produced the milk and Swiss immigrants made the cheese. And one of the most asked questions, where Sugarcreek got its name.
Sugarcreek is the gateway to the Amish community here.
Just up the road is Holmes County, Millersburg, the center of Amish country. And to the east, historic Zor Village. Here, you can see an early 19th century village where families shared everything.
I love to share history.
And where the hard days of the Civil War are remembered. And back in Sugarcreek, you can join the crowds gathered around the world's largest cuckoo clock. Ah, the stuff you find just driving around. Because out here, small-town Americana lives on in the homes, the back road journeys, the steam trains, the Amish craftsmen, and classic scenes of early-day America.
Our open generators are on. Okay, line up.
We copy you down, Eagle.
As cities grow bigger and traffic moves slower, we long for those simpler days. Before electricity, before cars, yes, before cell phones. Such is the fascination with the Amish.
The main thing is the way they've been able to survive apart from modern society.
David Fix is the director of the Amish village outside Lancaster, Pennsylvania, where you find a large concentration of Amish. It's a similar story here in central Ohio. In Holmes County, nearly 50% of the residents are Amish. Swiss and Amish began moving here in the early 19th century. It was all about the farming. Swiss and other European immigrants came to America just to work the land. My own father came here in the 1930s from Neuchâtel, Switzerland. Now, he had to go back to Europe in the 40s to fight with the Americans in World War II, but when he returned, he came here to central Illinois, bought this small plot of land, worked it, raised a family. It was just his dream. The family still owns the farm today.
Everybody wanted land. That's one of the main reasons they came from Europe.
Becky Detweiler runs the Alpine Hills Museum in Sugarcreek.
The Swiss came because of the contour of the land. It reminded them of home. The Amish came to the United States because they were persecuted. A lot of them started in Pennsylvania. And so it was a symbiotic relationship between them and the Amish. The Amish had the farms with the dairy cows. The Swiss would make the cheese.
You can see and hear the story in here.
The handmade kettle, imported from Switzerland in the late 1800s, held 1,600 pounds of milk and made a wheel of cheese which weighed about 125 pounds.
In here, you also see the long alphorns used by Swiss farmers and hear the alpine bells. And visitors love seeing an authentic Amish kitchen. All around Sugarcreek, you can spot farmers using draft horses to do the heavy work, harvesting, plowing, and spreading fertilizer the old way. Sam Miller breeds and sells Belgian draft horses. These are giant horses used to pull heavy farm equipment.
Some 2,500-pound horses will outpull 2,800-pound horses, so it's a lot in muscle build and their mindset.
And people pay a lot for them.
I just like this kind of a horse to work. They're just, like I say, you can do more in a day. They don't have to work as hard to do it. They just know how to do it.
But Amish aren't just farmers. Using old world techniques, they build all sorts of things.
My grandpa started in 1920s. Ever since that, it's been him, my dad, and myself. And my dad's 82. About when he was turned 75, he quit climbing windmills.
Melvin Troyer builds and repairs windmills at his business just outside Sugarcreek. His son will make it 4 generations.
We restore some of the old windmills, and we also purchase new ones from the Air Motor Windmill Company in Texas. And then there's also amongst the English people, we install windmills for them too as well. A lot of that's for nostalgic reasons.
A lot of nostalgia in here as well.
Pretty well, any kind of a wheel.
Noah Stutzman is a wheelwright, making the classic old wooden wheels for carriages, farm wagons, and even Model T autos near Baltic, Ohio.
Car wheels is kind of getting more and more. Model T's up to about 1930s was about the last to use wooden wheels. Yeah, I started in a blacksmith, then I started bogies, then I started making shafts, and started making spokes, then we got into wheels. Most of his custom orders, yeah.
This one here came off of a horse down on the Coshocton Canal boat.
Back in Sugarcreek, Leroy Yoder uses air power to make all the tack, the bits, the reins, the harnesses for horses.
Spots. I guess that's the bling. That piece it's got a couple of prongs. Goes down through the machine, clinches, and spread. That's air powered with a small air motor on the side. That's what operates the machine. You can go from slow to...
He's not using leather. It's nylon.
Regular nylon run through a die with a polyurethane coating. That's a shiny material. There's a granite material that's got more of a leather look to it.
Some of the gear is very old and, frankly, takes the concentration of an expert. And one of the great mysteries of the Amish, people ask, can they or can't they use electricity?
They think that they are opposed to electricity, which is not the case. It's connecting to the outside lines, because in the Bible, New Testament, Romans 12:2 says not to conform to the world. But some church districts allow solar and also generators and different things.
Sugarcreek is also known for its brick. Special coal, shale, and clay deposits in the area were discovered long ago. And in 1870, Henry Belden developed a special burner or oven to make brick. Still today, as you drive around, you see stacks of brick. And then there's the clock, the cuckoo clock. Reportedly, it's the largest in the world. People gather, and the anticipation is fierce.
That clock was actually on top of the restaurant, and the restaurant closed.
It's 23 feet tall. Every half hour, a cuckoo bird pops out, and you are serenaded by polka music. Just down the road, the sort of place any kid could fall in love with.
Ever since he was a little kid, he fell in love with steam and wanted to preserve it. He just fell in love with the old machines, wanted to give future generations similar experience to what he had growing up in the very, very last days of steam when he was a child.
Dan Kondo is talking about Jerry Joe Jacobson, a legend of preservation.
He was a grand workaholic. He saved every penny he had to start his railroad and his dream of running steam locomotives. He called it the Ohio Central. What he enjoyed doing most of all was running steam-powered passenger trains here in the Sugarcreek area. He was constantly looking for and collecting old steam locomotives.
In his other job, to pay the bills, he worked in hospitals and medical clinics.
They would go to Jerry saying, hey, we ran out of money. We need this part to fix this engine. He would take off essentially and work a few extra shifts at the hospital and would come back and tell them, all right, the money's in the bank.
Well, he fell in love with trains as a little boy.
Both Jerry and his wife Laura took on this giant mission.
I love trains, kind of a romanticism with steam engines that got to me, really. The first one that we used in Sugarcreek was 1551, and I still have to say that's my favorite.
Eventually, Jerry sold the railroad, but saved the old steam equipment and built this classic roundhouse to store all that history.
He loved sharing his collection with people and running his steam locomotives to the delight of others because he loved steam. A normal roundhouse would not be this clean. Quite frankly, the floor might not even have been concrete. This facility was built primarily for preservation of the collection.
And what a collection it is.
643 would be used for the iron ore train from Conneaut to Pittsburgh. It's about 450 tons, some 900,000 pounds. It operated for Carnegie Steel's Duquesne Works. It was a steel foundry in the Pittsburgh area. That's pretty much where it spent its entire commercial life. Built to be a little industrial switcher. 1897. It's the oldest that we have as well. The smallest, oldest, lightest. Number 13 was actually Jerry's second locomotive that he purchased to help him run his excursion operations on the Ohio Central. Keyhole firebox with the bigger rounded out top portion and the thinner bottom portion that was meant to kind of settle in between the rearmost driving wheels of a steam locomotive. That was very common in older steam engines. They're builder's plates. They're like the birth certificate of the steam locomotive. One particularly notable one, that crown would be sported on a steam locomotive up in Canada that would have been carrying the royal family.
So Jerry and Laura's dream lives on, sharing the joys of the old steam trains for kids of all ages. Nearby, in Zora Village, living history surrounds you. The town, which means place of refuge, was founded in 1817 by German religious separatists who fled to the U.S. and created a communal society. The old buildings have been preserved. The Zora Hotel was a favorite place to visit for President William McKinley, who was from the nearby area. The group helped build the nearby Ohio and Erie Canal, which ran from Lake Erie down to the Ohio River. You can still see sections throughout the state, like Coshocton, the Locks, and Towpath, and even examples of the canal boats that in the early days were pulled by mules. Every 2 years, a Civil War reenactment is held in Zora Village. With cannon and gunfire, it's a dramatic history lesson. Just as interesting are the camps of reenactors. You feel you're back in the 1860s.
I love to share history.
Barbara Salisbury has a personal connection to the war.
3 great-great-grandfathers and 1 great-great-uncle that served in the Civil War, and they all 4 survived. My great-great-uncle was from Clearfield County, Pennsylvania. He was one of the original bucktails, and he fought at Gettysburg the 2nd day and the 3rd day. His name is on the Pennsylvania Monument. He survived into his 80s. This is a reunion picture that was taken several years after the Civil War was over. They were all farmers, and they decided they wanted to distinguish their group, and so they cut the tails off of the deer and put them on their hats.
And folks ask about the name Sugarcreek.
There's a lot of sugar maples around the area. There was a gentleman farmer that came into town to buy some stuff, and he spent a little time at the tavern, and he drank a little too much. And when he was taking his horse and wagon across the creek, there was an accident, and a couple bags of sugar spilled into the creek. Thus, Sugarcreek.
As Paul Harvey would say, now you know the rest of the story. And here, in and around this small town, you really feel you're taking a trip back a century or two, and an appreciation for a simpler way. It's the old steam trains in the new roundhouse, old buildings, giant cuckoo clocks, and the joys of a slow drive in the country that make life in small-town Americana a wonderful breath of fresh air.